So what if your smart home could alert you the second that the National Weather Service sends out an alert in your area? So whether it's a thunderstorm watch, a flash flood advisory, or even a tornado warning, your smart home can not only notify you on all of your devices, but also take action, like sending out audio alerts all throughout your home,
severe weather alert issued,
and even turning on lights and your television. This is all possible through the power of Home Assistant and some key integrations. So today I'm going to walk you through the updated National Weather Service Alert integration, how to install it, how to set up notifications and automations, and even how to tweak your dashboard to show your alerts at the very top when you log in. All of this so it's easy for you to be weather aware. Hi there neighbors, it's Ryan the Tech Guy and welcome back to This Smart House, your destination for the coolest in smart home tech and the best in automations. Now previously I covered the NWS Alerts integration back in 2021. However, the integration has changed hands and been updated, and so if you were following that old tutorial, it won't work anymore. So I went ahead and created a new video based on the new version 6 of the integration. So as you can tell, I'm not actually home. I'm traveling for work, and this week I'm in Tulsa, Oklahoma, right smack dab in the middle of Tornado Alley. Now thankfully there isn't many severe storms this time of year, but it's never a bad idea to go ahead and get prepared for the upcoming spring. Plus, with winter around the corner, you always want to make sure that you know if there's a heavy snowstorm heading your way. So in today's video, I'm going to take you through step by step getting the new integration installed and then showing you how I set up different automations and notifications within Home Assistant. And don't worry, you don't need to copy everything from the screen. I've got a full blog post down in the description below that'll take you through each operation step by step. Plus you can copy paste code or click directly on the URLs. Hope that makes it easy for you. So for those who are not familiar, what exactly is NWS Alerts? Well, it's a custom integration for Home Assistant that's based on the National Weather Service Alert API here in the United States. Now, if you've grown up here in the States, you know you can get weather alerts through dedicated weather radio channels, on your public news station, or notifications in various apps. And this is that API that a lot of those other apps use to get alerts and send them your way. This integration is being maintained by GitHub user Finity69x2, and they've done a fantastic job with the documentation and keeping it up to date with the ever-changing API landscape for the National Weather Service. With this integration, it's super easy now to set up your location and get alerts for your home or any other place that you really care about. And of course, we all know with Home Assistant, you can set up dedicated custom notifications anytime an alert comes through, but you can also expand that to turning on lights, flashing lights a certain color, or doing whatever you need to do to let your family know that they're in danger and need to get to the basement. But before we jump into the installation, I want to take a quick moment and tell you about MagicMind. They've been a great partner the past few months and have committed to continued support for the channel. So you'll be hearing more about them over the next coming months. Now I've been drinking it daily to keep me focused throughout the days, and it comes in real handy when I travel. They're small enough to toss into a bag, and it's way easier than trying to track down coffee or energy drinks in an airport or along a road trip. So whether I'm stationed at a hotel or spending all day in meetings, it helps keep me focused through the long travel days and doesn't come with a jittery crash at the end. If you want to try it for yourself, head over to magicmind.com/smart50. That'll get you 50% off your first subscription or 20% off a one-time purchase. So another big thanks goes out to MagicMind for their continued support. Now let's head into Home Assistant and get the integration installed. All right, so let's get started with the install. Now, you're gonna already have to have the HACS store installed in your Home Assistant instance. And if you haven't done that already, I've actually just uploaded a video a few months ago on how to get that set up. You can find it in the cards up here or down in the description. HACS is basically the community store that lets you install a variety of different integrations. So here in my test environment, we're gonna go to the HACS store. And then at the top, we wanna search for NWS. And you should see NWS Alerts here. I've already got this downloaded, but you'll just need to click on it and then go down to the bottom right-hand corner and select download. This will download the integration. Then we just need to go in and restart Home Assistant. Once Home Assistant's restarted, then we can go in and add the integration into our current environment. So click on Settings, Integrations, hit Add Integration, and then type in NWS. And we're gonna add NWS Alerts. Unless you want to customize your location to say get weather from a location that's not where your Home Assistant has been currently set up at, then you can just follow the default instructions. There's actually instructions on screen on how to find your code if you want to find a different area than what you have set Home Assistant up for, but we're not going to go to that in this video. So I'm going to click Zone ID, and it's going to go ahead and find the closest zones to my house. And you can have multiple entries here as well. So if any of those zones get an alert, it'll show up in Home Assistant. I'm gonna go ahead and leave everything else as default and click Submit. I'll scroll down and find NWS Alerts, and then I'll click on one service, and then you'll see Alerts and Last Updated. Now how this integration works is when there is an active alert for your area, you'll see this number increase. So if it's anything above a 0, then you have an alert for that area. When you click on the alert, all you'll see is a number. So if there are multiple alerts for your area, you'll just see the number of alerts that are currently active. One thing to note though, it's always gonna take the most severe alert and put it at the top. So the first alert you're gonna see on the screen is the most severe. Now, to get the details on what's in the alert, it'll actually be part of the attribute. Now, if you're not familiar with the attributes, we'll talk about that in the next section when we go through the automations and notification. But as you can see right now, there are no active alerts. Now, if you do actually want to test it and find an active alert, there really isn't a test procedure for National Weather Service, but what you can do is find an active alert somewhere else in the country. So what you can do is go to this URL below, and it's going to pull up a list of all the active alerts. Then you can scroll down to the first alert that you want to find, like this flood advisory for Boise, Idaho. And then we're going to scroll down until we find UGC. This is the station ID of where this alert is currently active at. We'll copy that, head back into Home Assistant, go back to our integrations page, select NWS Alerts, click the one service here, click the configure, and then we can replace our zone ID with the one with the current active alert and click submit. Now when we go back into service, we should see one alert is currently active and when it was last updated. We can then click on that alert and then click attributes, and it'll give us, then it gives us all the details that we care about for the alert. Specifically, we like things like headline, which gives us a quick summary of what's going on. There's the severity, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. And then a description, which gives you more details about the weather event. So you'll have to do some digging around to find an active alert if you want to test it. The nice thing about this is once you've verified all your automations are good, you can delete the integration and re-add it so it adds it back to your house, and you can go back and know that your automations are going to function. I'm going to go ahead and leave it with that active alert so we can test it. So next up, we're going to create a binary sensor that will indicate when we have an alert. So let's do that. We just need to go over to Settings, Integrations and Services, go to Helpers, and click Create Helper. Then we're going to scroll down to Template, and then we want to select Template a binary sensor. So we're going to give it a name, NWS Alerts Active, and then under State Template, you can just copy and paste the little bit of template code from the blog post. You can leave the device class alone, and for device, you can actually tie it to your NWS alerts if you want it to all show up in the same interface. So you can see now, down at the bottom, my NWS Alerts Active is on because that test location has a current active alert. So we click Submit, and we'll be using this helper later on in some different automations. So all right, so now we have the basic understanding. Let's go ahead and set up a few notifications and some automations. So the simplest type of automation that we want to create is just a simple notification. We want to know when there's an alert from the National Weather Service. And so you can have this send to many different devices. You can have it go out via text to speech, or just send you a text message on your phone. So for this example, we're just going to send a simple text message that indicates what the alert is and its severity. So we're going to go to Settings, Automations, Create Automation, Create New Automation, and then click Add Trigger. We're going to click Entity, State, and then we're going to search for NWS Alerts Active. We want to know when it goes from off to on. Then under Then Do, we want to search for whatever notification service you typically use. I'm just going to select my S24 Ultra, which uses the Home Assistant mobile app to get notifications. So click that. So for the title, we'll check the box and we'll just say New NWS Alert. Then under Message, we want to grab that attribute for the current alert. So we're going to use a template. We're going to use a template state_attr, which is going to pull the attributes from that sensor. And then we're going to select our sensor NWS Alerts. And I've created two integrations, that way I can have one to test with. So if you see this _2, just ignore that. It's because I'm using my test version. And then the key is called alerts. Now, if you ever want to test your template to make sure it's working, you can copy this, open up another tab, go into your Home Assistant and go to the Developer Tools tab. Then we'll click on the Template tab, and you can paste your code in here to see if it's going to work. So if I was going to send this to myself as an alert, it's just way too much information. So here's where we're going to start playing around a little bit with some templating. So now I've changed it to where I'm actually defining a variable called alerts to equal that big string of text that we had before. Then on the next line, I'm going to call that same variable called alert. And then I'm going to, since that variable is actually a type list or array, I want to select the first element. So I need to use the square brackets with a 0 in it. This will select the first element of that list. So if you have multiple alerts, it's going to select the first one, which, as we know from before, is the most important one because it's got the highest severity. And then I'm going to type period, and then I want to say headline. Now you can see what it's returning is the actual headline from that original string. I could also say severity, and now it's going to return the severity type, which we'll look at here a little bit later, and create an automation that does different things for different severities. So now if I take this code, copy it, and go back into my automation and paste it in here, and change that to headline. Now, when the variable changes, so when a new alert comes in, I'll get a notification on my phone that has the title of NWS Alert, and then it's going to have the headline as the message. So let's test it real quick. So I'm going to click Save. Call this one Test NWS Notification. Then click Save. So now we'll go to the top right-hand corner, click the 3 dots, and click Run Actions. And I've got a notification on my phone. So I pull down the notification shade. You'll see I have a new alert that says flood warning remains in effect through Friday evening. This is exactly the text that we saw on screen earlier. So you can use any of the variables that you found in the attributes just by referencing that key that we saw earlier. Make sure you check the capital letter at the beginning, because if you do use the wrong case, it's not going to find the correct key. Next up, let's take a look at how to make a more advanced version of this that can do different things based on the severity of the alert. All right, for this last automation, we're going to do something a little more complicated. So I really find this much easier if you just go to the code that I have in the blog post, go back to the top right-hand corner, paste it in, overwriting everything else, and then click the 3 dots again and go to Edit in Visual Editor. What this is going to do is take all the various options that I've created and then drop it back in so you can edit it much easier in the visual editor. So for this automation, the trigger is actually going to be the numeric value. So anytime that numeric value is above 0, it's going to trigger. The reason for this is because if that number goes from 1 to 2 or 2 to 3, we still want to know if it's a severe alert. So anytime that number changes and it's above 0, it's going to automatically send you an alert. Now, this could definitely be improved if we wanted to say if the number gets greater but doesn't get less, but we're not going to take care of that today. Under our actions, or what's now called then do, first thing we're going to do is define some variables. So the first variable we're going to define is called first alert, and this is very similar to the one we used in the last step. We've defined the variable alerts to equal the attribute of the state, sensor NWS alerts alert, and then it's going to use the attribute alert. I know that's a lot of the use of the word alert, but that's the way it goes. Then we're going to say if the first element of that string of alerts that we've created, what this next section is going to do is, then it says if this exists, it's not blank, then continue on. If it is blank, it's going to stop here. So then we're going to reuse the variable first alert, and we're going to use the key severity and assign that to the new variable alert severity. And the same thing for headline. We're going to use that key headline, and we're going to define it as alert headline. Then there's a couple of defaults here that says, hey, if these don't exist or they aren't valid, then default to either unknown or NWS alert. So then we're going to go into this, which is a choose. So think of this like a cascading set of if statements. It's going to check the first one, and if that's not valid, go to the second, and go to the third, and so on. So for this first one, I've actually named it if alert severity is minor, and what it's going to do is it's going to run this template. This template simply says if the alert severity is equal to minor, then that's when this one's going to fire. And so in this case, I have it sending out a notification to my standard alert setup. And for the message, I can just say, so under the message, then I can just use the variable first or alert underscore headline. And then the title, we'll just call it NWS Alert. So then option 2 is going to do the same thing, but check if it's a moderate alert. And if that's the case, it's going to send a slightly different message. This one's going to send NWS Alert moderate, and then it's in the headline. Then for severe, I've got it sending another notification, this time with an emoji in there. But what I've also done is created another if statement that says, if the time is between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m., then I wanted to send a text-to-speech notification out. Now, of course, you'll have to go through here and customize all the entity IDs to match what you have in your home, or delete the things you don't need. What I've done here is I've selected the living room speaker and created the message, severe weather alert issued, and then it's going to read the headline. And this is just going to use the built-in Home Assistant Cloud TTS. If you don't happen to have that, then you can use something like the Google one that's set up, or Alexa. Whatever text-to-speech you have currently set up, you can use to execute this. So basically between the hours of 8 a.m. and 8 p.m., it's going to also read out the alerts out loud. And if you wanted to have this read on multiple devices, then just duplicate this step over and over again and change it to the different entity IDs. And finally, if the template renders the value of extreme, so if the alert is an extreme alert, this is something like a tornado warning, something that's going to have potential loss of life, that's the stuff that I really want to react to. So it's going to send that standard notification, just like before. But this time I'm also going to turn on a bunch of lights. So it's going to turn on my basement stairs, my lights in the basement, it's going to turn on the bedroom overhead, all the lights upstairs, and really let me know that there's a problem. You can also set it to turn on a light that turns red, set off a siren, or set off a siren if you happen to have one, just something to get your attention to let you know to get up and get to the basement. And then I've got it sending multiple text-to-speech notifications to different devices around the house. Again, I don't care what time of day it is, I want to know that there's been an alert like this so I can get to someplace safe. Then when you're done, you can hit save. And if you still have your test National Weather Service, then if your current alert, once you have it saved, if you have a current active alert, then you can go ahead and test. Or you can do my tip from earlier and set yourself up with a test alert and go in and make sure your automation is going to function. But obviously be careful about things like tornado warnings because they don't come up very often. So keep that in mind. This is not a human safety type automation. This is just for peace of mind. So to sum up, if this is a minor alert, then it's just going to send a mobile notification, or you could potentially just ignore it altogether. If it's a moderate notification, maybe you want to send it to multiple devices. If it's a severe notification, then you have it send you a severe alert, but also have text-to-speech during waking hours. Then finally, for an extreme alert, you might want to set up lights turning on, sirens going off, whatever you need to get your attention and get you somewhere safe. And so last up, we're going to set up a quick visual element on our Home Assistant dashboard to have a special card that only pops up when there's an alert, and so you can have it set at the top of your dashboard to let you know that there's an alert that you need to keep an eye on. So we're going to go back into Home Assistant and go ahead and edit whatever dashboard you want to add this to. And we'll see right here I already have one set up, but let's take a look at it. You'll notice that when I click on Done, there's no box there. This is because I'm using the new visual rules that you can set to where if an entity doesn't match a certain template, then don't show the card at all. So I'll click on the Edit Dashboard, click on the pencil icon. So to create this card, we just want to hit plus, and we're going to create a Markdown card. Then once we go into the Markdown card, you can paste the text from the blog post in here, and then give it a title like NWS Alerts. So if we look at the code here, it's very similar to the alerts we made before. We say if the state of our binary sensor, NWS Alerts Active, is on, then we want to move on and actually show me some information. And if we can see at the end of this if statement, if it's not on, so if it's off, then it's just going to say no active alerts. So then I define that same variable called alert, defining it as a state attribute for my alerts system here. And just so we have something to show, I'm going to go ahead and set this to my second alert, which has an active one right now, and set this to off so it'll show the card. So then we have in bold the first alert element, the headline from that alert element. We show the severity, and we show when this alert expires. So you see right here, now we can see there's a flood watch, it's a severe, and when it expires. But if I set this back to my main alerts, you'll see there's no active alert. So then the trick to make this card visible or invisible is we go to the visibility tab, and then I've set that binary sensor, NWS Alerts active. If it's equal to on, then show the card. If it's off, the card's automatically hidden. So if I hit save, and then you'll see the card shows up here in edit mode, but when I hit done, the card's not there at all. Now you could go in here and spice this up by using the card mod integration or other ways to change the background to make it more something like a yellow for moderate and red for a high alert. But that's a customization for another video. All right, so to wrap things up, we've seen how to set up the NWS Alerts integration. We've talked about how to set up a test version if we wanted to go ahead and validate our automations. We've created a basic notification automation using some templating. And then we've created a much more complicated one that changes states depending on how severe the alert actually is. This one gave us the capability of turning on lights, sending off text-to-speech notifications, whatever it is that you need to do to keep your family safe. And finally, we set up a card that self-hides when there's no alerts, so you can instantly know if there's an alert on your dashboard. So I hope this was helpful, not only to learn a little bit more about the alerts integration, but also maybe you learned something a little bit new about Home Assistant, templating, and working with different variables. So please let me know down in the comments below what sort of automations that you've created in order to keep your home safe, whether it's weather alert related or sensor related. I'm really interested to know how you protect your house. And please, before you go, if you're interested in checking out MagicMind, please use the link down below. It gets you 50% off your first month's subscription or 20% off if you want to just buy one time and try it out. I'm really thankful for MagicMind's support. So if you use those links, it really goes to help me out. Now, if you want to check out my other Home Assistant integration videos, I've got a whole playlist right over here. Or if you happen to randomly stumble on this video and you don't have Home Assistant set up, I've got a great tutorial right over here. That's it for me. I'm heading home tomorrow, so I'll see you all in the next video.